Last night, Blake Lively broke her silence regarding the Justin Baldoni drama, appearing on Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, they're everywhere. We cannot open any website with any entertainment news without seeing them wearing something different in every photo, in every occasion, and posing in front of the paparazzi, signing autographs. And of course, she spoke to Seth Meyers beforehand on how they could, they had to mention something about everything that's been going on. And she said on his show that she couldn't talk that much about it, smiling, being happy, and feeling popular. It's exhausting. So this is what they're trying to do right now.
She seems to be on this tour that's painting herself as a hero for all women. And it's pretty frustrating how Seth and just Hollywood in general seems to be accepting it.
Yeah, now I'm afraid to know too much about star signs, but yeah.
It's really hard to watch her now. I can't lie. It is really hard to watch her be this fake person.
Blake Lively just turned a late-night interview into a full-blown PR crisis, but something darker was unraveling. Her soft-spoken charm masked a legal storm, media manipulation campaign, and a carefully rehearsed story designed to dodge accountability. This wasn't just an awkward talk show appearance, it was a damage control operation, and the internet saw right through it. From the legalities Blake tried to sidestep, to the frozen quotes, the overproduced outfits, and Ryan Reynolds' baffling press tour cameos, it's clear their image is cracking. It was supposed to be a casual, friendly late-night appearance. Instead, Blake Lively showed up in a gown so massive it literally couldn't fit in the chair.
And of course, she arrived in style in a white gown or dress. White is the color of innocence. I don't think that was a coincidence. I don't think anything with Blake Lively right now is a coincidence.
But right out the gate, there's just a level of awkwardness because, yeah, the dress doesn't fit his small chairs.
There are certain guests where I'm like, I really should just go back to a suit for tonight. This is a fantastic outfit.
Your wedding gown look?
From the moment she walked onto the Late Night with Seth Meyers set, it was clear this wasn't going to be a normal interview. The dress was pure symbolism. And this wasn't wardrobe, it was costume. And the content felt even more staged than the couture. The conversation somehow fell onto the topic of Ice. Seth asked Blake if she had beef with Ice. She responded by singing a line from Frozen. That's what millions of viewers were treated to instead of a single real question.
The whole thing just starts awkward out the gate, and shows just admits to how controlling this couple actually is.
Emily is a changed woman in this movie. She drinks martinis with ice.
That's very exciting.
Which is a big deal.
That is a big deal.
If you saw the first one, you'd understand why she has beef with ice.
Yes, I was like, yeah.
Do you in life have beef with ice?
No, I love ice.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to have a problem with you. Do you have a problem with ice? Would have been funny.
Really,
I really like ice too. I think the first time we got an ice machine in a refrigerator.
Anyway, they go on a whole monologue about ice. Blake Lively starts quoting and singing from Frozen, and it even quotes our Honest Trailer. We are making ice. We did that in our Honest Trailer. I was proud of that song.
The tone was awkward, and the entire exchange felt like a rehearsal, but the real tell was the moment the camera stopped rolling. As she leaned in towards Seth, Blake thanked him 5 times, breathy and urgent, as if she just survived a live press ambush, except no one even tried to challenge her.
Watch this. Thank you. Did you catch that at the end? Thank you. For real. Thank you so much. Thank you for not screwing me over and making this worse for me.
Those whispered thank yous weren't appreciation, they were relief. This interview was carefully arranged, flawlessly executed, and entirely hollow. And while the audience clapped on cue, the internet was already picking apart what really just happened. Because underneath the fake laughs was a woman doing everything she could to keep the walls from caving in. Just days before the Seth Meyers appearance aired, Blake Lively was hit with something far less glamorous: legal papers. Subpoenaed by Justin Baldoni's legal team, Blake was officially dragged into the controversy surrounding It Ends With Us. This was a formal demand to turn over your texts, your emails, your behind-the-scenes messages. Every careful whisper about the production was now under scrutiny, and yet she never once mentioned it. No acknowledgement, no clarification, no attempt to clear the air. Instead, we got a parade of soft lighting, emotional monologues, and red carpet distractions. Because when you're facing legal exposure, the last thing you want is an unfiltered spotlight.
This is, a late night comedy show, but he's making it clear at the gate, like, I don't know all the details, but I don't know all the details. Just, hello, audience, I don't know all the details. But
I'm thrilled you're not doing Weekend Update right now because you would be quite informed. So it's good, yeah.
Were I to ask you about it,
the reality is he is. The beginning of his show, A Closer Look, he talks about all sorts of entertainment stories, everything. Of course he knows. He's just saying that, Blake, to get away with being nice to you. Is how I see that, which is very telling. And Seth is definitely doing her the solid of playing softball, is what he's doing here. So plenty of people are gonna be annoyed by him, but he's doing his job. This is what he does. He's getting ratings. He needs ratings.
Behind the scenes, sources close to the production say tensions were simmering long before lawyers got involved. Accusations flew about miscommunication, power plays, and narratives being reshaped to cast Blake as the wronged party. And while her public persona leaned on victimhood, the documents being assembled told a different story, one of control, image management, and strategic storytelling. Baldoni, once painted as the villain in vague soundbites and teary-eyed interviews, now has receipts. And Blake, she's been forced into a legal corner. But instead of addressing the matter head-on, she chose something far more calculated: distract, deflect, and dominate the news cycle. This wasn't a crisis she planned to solve. It was a scandal she was trying to outrun.
They're trying to overwhelm us with appearances. So all that negativity that they received will be pushed down in Google and on social media, because now it's all about them looking pretty, looking in love.
But once you start spinning a story this carefully, stopping becomes impossible. When a PR strategy runs low on sympathy, there's always one guaranteed card left to play, and that's the card of motherhood. Mid-interview, just as things teetered on the edge of actual accountability, Blake brought out the tear-choked lines about her daughters being her lifeline, how she has to be Disneyland every day, and how no matter what's happening, she shows up for them with a smile.
It started based on bringing up her daughters.
your daughters ever criticize your outfits?
Oh, yeah. No, one of my daughters has the same birthday as Napoleon and Jennifer Lawrence. So if you imagine like those two blended.
Is that how it works? Is that how birthdays work? You blend?
I think so. I don't know. I don't know. It is nice though, because they're honestly, I mean, it's no surprise I've had like a pretty intense year, and like they're just my lifeline. Like no matter what day I'm having, I have to be Disneyland every day for them, and so it's.
They're my lifeline, and then she turned it. You hear how she did that? It's been she sets it up so it's clearly open for now. Seth can bring it in. They're my lifeline. Oh, they've taken me away. And there's one where you're like, oh, it's so sweet. You can go be with your kids because they don't read all the news and they'll love you. They're unconditional, etc. But then she's like, it's like I have to pretend to go into Disneyland every day. Oh, it's such a chore for me. It is so hard. It is so hard for me, people. Oh. Will you please give me more empathy? Because it's so hard being Blake Lively right now, having to go to my nannies and everybody and all these trips where clearly my kids aren't here.
But something about that felt off. Viewers weren't watching a mom open up, they were watching a public figure hide behind her children. Because while she spoke of constant devotion, her schedule painted another picture of film sets, talk shows, press junkets, and red carpet events nearly every other day. So when exactly is this full-time loving parenting happening? The timing wasn't subtle either. Her legal entanglements were starting to surface online. Critics, fans, and columnists were asking uncomfortable questions. And right on cue, she turned to the most untouchable narrative there is: maternal sacrifice. But audiences have seen this tactic before, and they're not falling for it. Blake's words were polished, her delivery flawless, but the emotional appeal rang hollow. Real mothers struggling through real chaos saw not a relatable figure, but a celebrity shielding herself with sentimentality. The message was clear: criticize Blake, and you're criticizing a mother just trying to survive. Except this wasn't survival, it was strategy. And instead of clearing her name, it only made the public more suspicious. Because when motherhood becomes a storyline instead of a lived experience, the people can always tell. While Blake was busy rebranding herself as a misunderstood matriarch, Ryan Reynolds was out making things even messier, starting with the Green Day Walk of Fame ceremony. A moment meant to honor a legendary band suddenly turned into an impromptu Ryan Reynolds showcase. Uninvited, unannounced, and completely unnecessary, he hijacked the mic to deliver a speech that ran longer than the band's own remarks. And why? He thought this was okay simply because he once used a Green Day song in Deadpool. That was the entire connection. But it was never about Green Day. It was about grabbing airtime during a week when his wife was under fire. This wasn't just an odd publicity stunt, it was part of a pattern. Just as Blake's interview began raising eyebrows, Ryan conveniently popped up everywhere: award shows, press events, viral pap walks. His sudden presence wasn't coincidence, it was cover. Distraction dressed up as has charisma. The couple has built their brand on being relatable and effortlessly funny. But now, that humor seems to have disappeared. Ryan's well-timed yet accidental public appearances scream damage control. When a celebrity starts inserting themselves into unrelated events, it reeks of strategy, and the public noticed. Instead of boosting Blake's image, Ryan's antics sparked more questions. Why is he everywhere all of a sudden? His role in this mess isn't just as a supportive husband, it's as a PR reinforcement. One husband of Hollywood's most curated, couple stepping in to steer the spotlight just far enough away from the uncomfortable truth circling his wife. Suddenly, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were everywhere, and not in a subtle kind of way. We're talking back-to-back coverage, magazine spreads, paparazzi shots, talk show appearances, and candid street photos. But this wasn't organic buzz. It was a planned stunt. Publicity teams don't drop press bombs like this by accident. Photos of Blake in a new outfit seem to land online every 48 hours. Outlets like People, Vogue, and Page Six gushed over her resilience, her style rebirth, her unshakable grace. Sources inside entertainment media started quietly admitting what fans already suspected. Blake's team wasn't just spinning the story, they were stage managing the entire news cycle. Glossy articles filled with glowing adjectives were all planted, drafted, approved, and scheduled in advance to flood the algorithm and bury anything negative. And it's working, sort of. Social media timelines were overrun with her latest look, her latest quote, her latest empowerment moment. But underneath the surface, resentment kept building. Even casual viewers began noticing how suspiciously coordinated everything felt. Meanwhile, smaller outlets and indie reporters who asked real questions suddenly found themselves shut out, interviews canceled, pitches ignored, projects shelved. The unspoken rule of Hollywood was scoring to light. If you aren't sticking to the approved script, you're not getting access. Blake didn't just dominate the press, she monopolized it. And in doing so, she traded authenticity for control. Blake Lively's image makeover reached its breaking point at the Time 100 Gala, where she delivered a speech meant to solidify her as a champion for women. But what was meant to be a moment of empowerment quickly turned into one of her most questioned appearances. She told a chilling story about her mother, claiming she was nearly unalived by a coworker.
She, as you know, spoke about her mother and her experience being almost killed by a coworker, that a lot of people now are speculating if that coworker was actually a woman, and Blake never said it was a man, so that might be, which is also one thing that I talked about it before, but I mean...
The language was vague, the details scarce, and the insinuation carefully placed. At first, many assumed the alleged attacker was male, given the larger narrative Blake's been aligning herself with. But when listeners realized she never confirmed the coworker's gender, speculation took over. Was this a case of rewriting the past to fit a PR script? Critics weren't just confused, they were concerned. Instead of clarity, the moment raised more questions than it answered. If the story was true, why drop it so casually in a gala speech? And if it wasn't about spotlighting a real issue, what was the goal? Many suspected the answer was simple: shock value. This wasn't advocacy, it was a tactic. A dramatic anecdote dangled for effect, conveniently timed to pull focus from mounds of public criticism. But people didn't walk away inspired, they walked away skeptical. Real survivors, advocates, and longtime supporters of victims felt something was off. You can't package trauma as talking points and expect people not to notice. And for someone claiming to speak for silenced women, Blake's story felt more like performance than testimony.
What I can say without going too into it is that this year has been full of the highest highs and the lowest lows of my life, and I see so many women around afraid to speak, especially right now, afraid to share their experiences, and fear is by design. It's what keeps us silent. I also acknowledge that many people don't have the opportunity to speak, so I do feel fortunate that I've been able to, and it's the women who have had the ability to use their voice that's kept me strong and you know, helped me in my belief in my fight for the world to be safer for women and girls. It's a pretty simple thing, but you know, nothing. Thank you. It's true.
I don't know what to say. I feel like right now the people that are most upset with Blake Lively are the real victims that have actually survived domestic violence and other forms of abuse, and then they watch her sitting there being their voice. And I think for all, like I said, for all real victims out there, just watching her sitting up there in her little princess dress, talking about victims, by the way.
That's the Seth side of it. From the Blake side, this idea that she's now being silenced, that she's the voice for all women, that infuriates me. The fact that she's now trying to become the poster child for standing up to what? You had all the control in that set. And from these appearances, they were telling me anything. You're not suffering any actual like work damages. working just fine for you. People are still asking for your autograph, showing up at premieres. You're just forcing it down our throat. We're seeing it everywhere. So
to share their experiences, and fear is by design. It's what keeps us silent. But
fear is from you. Everyone is terrified of you and Ryan. They are terrified.
And in an age where every story is fact-checked, parsed, and replayed online, that kind of vagueness isn't brave, it's manipulative. For a while, Blake Lively's media machine seemed unstoppable, until the audience fought back. When another simple favor quietly dropped on Amazon, what followed wasn't celebration or curiosity. It was outrage. Viewers flooded IMDb with 1-star ratings, not because of the film's plot, but as a protest against the star attached to it. Within hours, the platform was overwhelmed. The backlash wasn't subtle. It was loud, organized, and relentless. But instead of addressing the criticism, something even more suspicious happened. IMDb began scrubbing the reviews. Insiders claimed Amazon allegedly delayed the full audience score rollout, and the timing couldn't have been more suspect, but the public didn't need ratings to confirm what they already felt. Critics tore into the film with unfiltered honesty. The Washington Post slapped it with a single star, calling the entire experience shallow. The Seattle Times called the plot incoherent. Even The Guardian described the sequel as dragging and disconnected.
Please stop. Seattle Times is saying the plot is a mess and the runtime is overlong. The Guardian says another simple favor drops threads and drags on, but survives on its self-assured baseline pleasures to know what's going on. The clips I've seen, it just reminds me that Blake Lively is not a great actress, and apparently Anna Kendrick is a lot more in the movie. She's carrying the movie, so Blake isn't even in it that much, but yeah.
What stood out most, though, wasn't just the negative feedback, it was the shared sentiment. Blake Lively's presence had become the problem. The carefully staged interviews, the relentless press cycle, the controversy, all of it cast a big shadow over the project. And it wasn't just about a bad movie, it was about trust. Audiences no longer believed in the persona being sold to them. And when that illusion breaks, no number of 5-star puff pieces can fix it, Blake's campaign to recast herself as a misunderstood icon collided with a truth Hollywood hates to admit. Once the audience turns on you, no PR stunt can bring them back. What makes Blake Lively's current unraveling so alarming isn't just the media manipulation or emotional theatrics, it's the silence echoing from within the industry. Behind closed doors, Hollywood insiders aren't just whispering about her, they're actively avoiding her. Multiple journalists have quietly admitted they won't touch her story because of the legal risk. The word they use to describe it is litigious. That's the real reputation Blake and Ryan have built, not just as a golden couple, but as a legal threat waiting to strike. And it's not just the press. Streaming platforms reportedly backed out of a documentary project the moment they realized it wouldn't frame Blake as a misunderstood heroine. Even entertainment lawyers have hinted that her team aggressively monitors all coverage to make sure it won't ruin her narrative even more. This turned into a climate of fear so thick that even seasoned journalists are second-guessing their headlines. Nobody wants to be the first one sued. And the result, we have a media landscape where Blake is allowed to spin unchecked, while disapproving voices are pushed to the margins or silenced entirely. The scariest part is that it's working. Major outlets are printing approved quotes. Talk shows avoid hard questions. And insiders know if you cross Blake, you risk losing your platform altogether. Hollywood thrives on control, but this is something darker. A power play built not on talent, but on fear. Blake Lively didn't just walk into a PR disaster, she choreographed one. From talk shows to press tours, every step was carefully staged and every word calculated, but the performance is collapsing because the public finally stopped clapping. What was once seen as elegance now feels forced, and the more she tries to control the story, the more obvious the cover becomes. This isn't the tale of a silenced woman fighting back. It's the unraveling of a manufactured image that no amount of PR strategy can save. The mask is slipping, and this time, no one's willing to fix it.